Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. As you can see, I am wearing a dinosaur costume. And I'm here to talk to you today about one of my favorite books and movies, Jurassic Park. But before I jump into that, a little bit of a background. I do work for a local Philadelphia-based company called the Green Program, and we bring students around the world to learn about sustainability. So needless to say, I've always been a huge advocate for the environment, and the reason I actually love the Jurassic Park series has a lot to do with environmental philosophy and the message that the series sends us about the way we interact with the natural world. Now, usually when I say that, people's eyes glaze over a little bit, and they're like, Amanda, this is a movie about dinosaurs. And it is that, but it's also a lot more than that. And all of that starts with this sexy guy you're about to see on the screen. That's right, Jeff Goldblum, aka Dr. Ian Malcolm. He's the brooding mathematician in the series that tries to convince the billionaires behind Jurassic Park that bringing dinosaurs to life is a bad idea. So bear with me. I'm going to bring you through a brief math lesson. I promise it'll be painless. Dr. Ian Malcolm is all about this theory. It's called chaos theory, and you guys have actually may have heard of it before. It's also called the butterfly effect. It's a real theory, and it started in the 1960s when Professor Edward Lorenz, isn't he cute, was running math simulations at MIT related to weather predictions. During one of the simulations, he changed one of the initial variables just slightly, and instead of that creating really mild changes in the weather patterns, it produced two drastically different months of weather. And this is where you get the idea of the butterfly effect, where we say when a butterfly flaps its wings in Beijing, you get a tornado in Kansas. And I see some nodding heads. You're like, is this why we can't fucking get the weather right? And the answer partially is yes. But ultimately, what chaos theory teaches us is that there's an inherent unpredictability in complex systems like nature, and that nature is really sensitive to changes in initial conditions that can create cascading effects over time. And so ultimately, Dr. Ian Malcolm references chaos theory as a way to criticize the billionaires behind Jurassic Park for being so naive as to think they could control something as complex a system as nature. And of course, nobody listens, and you get 3, now 5 movies with dinosaurs running amok and eating everyone. So while chaos theory is really relevant and important about the power of nature, what's also really interesting about Jurassic Park is how relevant it was to current events at the time. When Jurassic Park came out in 1993, we were seeing the rise of a new field of biotechnology called genetic engineering. You guys are probably familiar with genetic engineering. We've been using it since the 80s for everything from GMOs to pesticide-resistant crops, all the way to crazy stuff like glow-in-the-dark animals like mega salmon. Yeah, it's real. And ultimately, genetic engineering today represents a multi-billion-dollar industry that promises to do really amazing things like end genetic disorders, all the way to really kind of scary stuff like create antibiotic-resistant superbugs for biological warfare. So as you can see, this isn't exactly the same genetic engineering that they were using in Jurassic Park, but ultimately Michael Crichton wanted to highlight that genetic engineering, the same as it was used in Jurassic Park, had very real-world applications that were really powerful. And in addition to that, we saw 2 other changes. One, Michael Crichton noticed that with the rise of the internet, scientific advances were happening faster than ever before. Researchers were able to share their experiences across the globe. And then second, Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, noticed that more and more scientific research was being privately funded with the goal of turning a profit. And so ultimately, you can sort of see how Michael Crichton uses a storyline of Jurassic Park and scientists bringing dinosaurs to life, but that has very real-world applications in terms of how we almost use science as this idea that we can control nature. And so that is the reason that I actually love Jurassic Park. You can't really see this quote. Looked a little different when I made it. But ultimately, it's this idea, I think, that Jurassic Park is a cautionary tale about humans and the trouble that we can run into when we don't think about how we can affect complex natural systems like nature around us. And so ultimately, I wouldn't say Jurassic Park is anti-scientific progress by any means, but ultimately it starts an important conversation about our role in the natural world. So if anything, I hope this inspires you to maybe pick up the book, start that important conversation, and at the very least, I hope the next time you see the movie, you think about Jurassic Park with a little more depth. And with that, I'll leave you with one of the most famous and contentious quotes of the movie from Dr. Ian Malcolm himself. Thank you so much.